we are graphing sine and cosine today. All right, it's going to be a quick lesson, so pay attention. So graphing sine, cosine, tangent, and the other three trig functions, cosecant, secant, and cotangent, they're all based on this unit circle. Okay, we've talked about the unit circle, and we took some time to get comfortable using the unit circle. And we know that this point here is at 0 and 2 pi, right? Yeah. 0 degrees or 0 radians, and then 2 pi radians is one full circle, right? One full rotation around. And this point, if it's the unit circle, this point is 1, 0, correct? We also know that this is cosine, sine, right? In the unit circle. This point up here is what in terms of radians? 90 degrees. So it's pi over 2. Okay. And this point is 0, 1. This point in the unit circle is -1, 0. And in radians, it's just pi. This point here is 0, -1. And my unit circle is, or in my radian measure, I mean, is 3 pi over 2. Okay? And what we're doing today is, you guys can imagine that we're cutting the unit circle and we're expanding it. We're expanding it out to like an XY graph like this, okay? Where my x-axis is now my radian measures. I'm gonna put radians here, okay? And my y-axis is just the value of whatever trig function we're doing, okay? This first one is going to be sine. So this y-axis is actually sine of x, okay? That value, okay? And how we begin is using these quadrantal angles. So 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi, okay? It's quite simple to label my x-axis, because between 0, pi over 2, and pi, and 3 pi over 2, and 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi, they're exactly 90 degrees apart, right? Or pi over 2 apart, correct? So they're exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off at 0. This is my 0. And then I'm going to pick 2, 4, 8 units. That's going to be my 2 pi. Okay. The reason why I picked 8 units is because I know there's going to be 4 segments, right? So halfway between 0 and 2 pi is 4 units away, which I'm going to label as pi. Okay. Halfway between 0 and pi is going to be pi over 2. And halfway between pi and 2 pi, which is 2 units away, is 3 pi over 2. Questions on the labeling of the x-axis? Pretty simple, right? Okay. And then if we are just graphing sine, based off of this unit circle, what is the sine of, let's back up. What is the sine of 0? Sine of 0 is 0, right? Okay. So one of these points at 0 is 0, 0. At pi over 2, what is my sine value? 1. I'm going to just go 2 units up just to make it look nice. So go up to 1. So pi over 2, 1, right? What is my sine value at pi? 0. What is my sine value at 3 pi over 2? -1. So again, 2 units down. That's -1 right there. And then what is my sine value again back at pi or 2 pi? 0. So here is my sine wave. That makes sense? Yeah. So that's my sine graph. Okay. Going up, coming back down, going down to -1 and coming back up to 0. That is one sine wave. Okay. When you have one wave, I'm just put wave, right? Whatever the trig value is, that's going to be one period of sine. Okay. This sine wave is one period. So my period size here is actually 2 pi. Okay. All right. Because the sine length, the length of this wave is 2 pi units long. Okay. The height of this wave goes from 0 to 1. Okay. That's my A value. All right. That's my A value right there. All right. And that's all we're doing today. Okay. My A value is 1. My period is 2 pi. All right. So in general form, okay, it's going to be y equals A times times B x minus C plus D. Okay, and then we're going to talk about C and D later on. Okay, but I just want to focus on the A value today. All right. Okay. Cool. Hmm? The negative, if A is negative, then it will just flip. Yeah, it'll flip or it'll be reflected across the x-axis. But here, labeling A, B, C, and D, A is your amplitude. Your B value, there's no name for it, but the way we use B is to find my period. Your period equation will always be 2 pi over B. Okay, we're gonna dive into this later. My C value is actually a transformation of shifting it left or right. Okay. And my D value is the transformation of shifting this up or down. The whole thing up or the whole thing down. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So that is A, B, C, and D. And again, we're just focusing on the part or the A value here. So if I want to graph y equals, let's say, 3 sine of x, okay? I'm going to graph this guy, 3 sine of x. I'm going to start off with the same way I started off in the previous graph with my radian measure here. Okay, this is going to be at 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. That's 2 pi. That's pi. Half of 0 and pi is pi over 2. Halfway between pi and pi over 2 is 3 pi over 2, right? Okay, we're literally, I'm gonna rewrite 3 sine of x in another way. 3 times the sine of x. Okay. So we're just gonna multiply whatever sine of x is by 3. Okay. So that's 1. That's -1. Okay. So my parent function is gonna be 0, 0. Pi over 2 is 1. Sine of pi is 0. Sine of 3 pi over 2 is -1. Sine of 2 pi is 0, right? So this is my parent function or my beginning function, right? In green, it's y equals sine of x, right? So if I'm multiplying 3 by whatever the sine of x is on that radian measure, yeah, 0 times 3 is 0. 0 times 1 is 3. So 1, 2, 3. So that goes up there. 0 times 0 is, or 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times -1, -3, which is right here. And then 0 times, or 3 times 0 is still 0. So here is the graph. And do you guys see how it got wider, right? So this is y equals sine, or 3 sine of x. And do you guys see, again, do you guys see how it got wider, right? And my amplitude or my height is now 3, okay? In integrated 2 and integrated 3, we call this a vertical stretch, yeah? But now it's just my amplitude, okay? The height of this wave, all right? Do you guys see how this is the height? You guys might be thinking, no, 6 is the height, right? Because the whole distance between the highest point and the lowest point is 6, right? But you guys can think of it as a literal wave in the ocean, right? Yeah, this is above water, and this is below water, right? So when you guys see the wave, you guys actually just see this part, correct? Yeah. So just think about it like that. And that's why my height is 3, or my amplitude is 3 and not 6. Cool? Questions on this? No? Okay. Moving on to cosine now. Okay. Y equals cosine. So this is still my radian measure. Radians. And this now will be cosine of x. Okay. Again, this graph is based off of the unit circle. Okay. So I'm going to count 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's 2 pi. Halfway between 0 and 2 pi, 1, 2, 3, 4 is pi. halfway between 0 and pi is pi over 2. And halfway between pi and 2 pi is 3 pi over 2. Okay? Now, these points are important when you're talking about the period. Okay? Talk about that later, but just know that. So, the cosine of 1 or 0 is 1. Cosine of pi over 2 is 0. Cosine of pi is -1. Cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0. Cosine of 2 pi is back at 1. So this class, and try and please make it into like a wave. Yeah, not a V. Okay, it's a wave. So try and make it wavy, for lack of a better word. All right. So again, this is one wave, right? And that's my period. Okay. Same rules apply for the sine and cosine. My periods, the length of my period is 2 pi, or my period is 2 pi. The length of the wave is 2 pi. Okay. Oh, you know what, class? I just found a mistake. I forgot to put sine. So right here is sine of x. It shouldn't just be sine. It shouldn't just be x. It should be sine of x. Okay. Minus c. Okay. So this one in general form is y equals a times b cosine of x minus c plus d. Okay. And it's literally going to be the same thing from the sine. All right. That's going to be plopped onto here. A is my amplitude. My period is going to be 2 pi over b. My c value is going to be shifting left or right. My d value is shifting up or down. Okay, I'm not going to rewrite that. Okay, my amplitude here, class, that's my amplitude length. Okay, and again, you can think of this as the sea level, right? And you can only see the top of the iceberg, right? Cool. So let's try y equals, no, I'm gonna go negative. Negative 4 cosine of x. So we're graphing that. Okay. So I'm gonna start off with my parent function at 2 pi, pi over 2, and then 3 pi over 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. So that's 1. I know I'm gonna have to go to 4. So that's 4. That's negative 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4. Negative 4. Okay. Oops. Back up so everyone can see. Okay. Cool. So in green, I'm gonna graph my parent function, cosine of x. So at 0, my cosine is 1. Cosine of pi over 2 is 0. Cosine of pi is -1. Cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0. Cosine of 2 pi is +1, right? So here is my cosine graph, okay? And in red, I'm going to graph y equals -4 cosine of x. Okay. So all I'm going to do here is just multiply again my y value by -4. Okay. So 1 times -4 is -4 is all the way down here. 0 times -4 is 0. -1 times -4 is +4, which is up here. 0 times -4 is 0. 1 times -4 is -4. Right? And then if I make this curve, it's going to look like that. Okay? So again, it's a vertical stretch and the reflection. You guys see the reflection? Yeah? You guys see how it flipped and then it stretched? Okay? Pretty easy. Questions on this? That is the lesson for today, class. I just want to give it to you guys in increments. This is graphing sine and cosine.